Now it's time to reflect on my experience in decorating these heart cookies in the red, white, and blue series that I completed. So once again, I learned a few things through the decorating process while I was decorating these cookies here. First of all, I used a 2 consistency outline and flood for this series, and that is the first time I've actually done that, and I have to be honest with you, I'm not a fan. I definitely prefer to outline and flood with the same consistency, so I don't think that I will be using that method too terribly often. I'm sure that there will be times that that comes in handy, but I'm not so sure I want to make it a regular part of my decorating experience. I definitely benefited from having a clear written plan on this series. When I did the spring set, I thought I had a plan, which was to say I had the cookie cutters that I wanted to use and the colors that I wanted to use, but I had no real plan beyond that. And that definitely made for not amazing looking cookies. But I definitely can see that having a plan, having it written out, and being extremely detailed on exactly what it is that I wanted to do produced much nicer cookies. My consistencies were pretty good. I think I got the soft peak piping consistency almost perfect. It might have been just a little tiny bit thin, as I noticed, like when I went to do this cookie. This is not actually part of the series. These were some extras that I did. I tried to kind of do a pressure piping situation, which I believe you use a soft peak piping consistency for, and it just kind of like kind of went out. So I think maybe it wasn't exactly where it needed to be, but it did produce, you know, pretty decent dots in, like in this case. So I've actually got little points on the top here. So I'm not entirely sure what caused that to be not exactly what I needed for like a pressure piping situation, but I think this is pressure piping, so I'm still learning, so we'll figure that out going forward. My thin flood was not near as thin as I actually thought it was. I actually think that it could have been even a little bit thinner, which is interesting because I thought that my blue flood was going to flood all over my table when I put my bag down. First off, I actually overfilled the blue a little bit. It was a little harder to handle. I think I probably put about 5 or 6 ounces in there. Definitely is too big for my little tiny hands. And the red was actually the one that did flood out of the bag as I put the bag down. I had little red dots all over my table. But I actually felt like when I was doing the wet on wet technique with the floods that it was not thin enough because it was setting up on me pretty quickly. The coloring of my royal icing was very interesting. When we left off after I first made the colors on the first day, I put them into the fridge and I let them develop for 24 hours. There was a difference. I could tell by looking at it, my eyes looking at it, it looked darker and it was definitely deeper, not so bright tone than what it was the day before. On camera, unfortunately, it kind of looked the same when I put in the video the comparison between the 2 days. Now, what I did notice was from the time that I bagged my icing till the time that I used it, which was about 2 hours later, there was already a significant difference between the color when I first bagged it and when I started to use it 2 hours later. I'm thinking, and this is a hypothesis of mine, I am thinking that since I put that icing into the refrigerator for that 24 hours, it kind of slowed down the process of the color developing, which is extremely interesting. And when I pulled it out of the fridge and it was out sitting for a couple of hours, the color actually deepened quite a lot. And then by the time it dried on the cookie, it was even darker. So when I first bagged my icing, I thought, ugh, this is so nowhere near the color that I was going for specifically for the blue. I actually am so much more satisfied with how the blue turned out. It's darker. I was afraid it was going to be more of a sky blue, which is kind of how it was looking when I first put it in the bag. Of all of these cookies that are out here, these 6 here are the ones that I planned out to do. I'm actually pretty satisfied with them. Out of these 6 though, I'm going to have to say that my favorite is the Heart Song. It is so pretty, and I actually just released a short on this one of the decorating of this alone. I also really enjoy this particular cookie here, which originally I was calling Shining Flag. No, it's more like PepsiCo. That's that's what I'm looking at here. But I do notice that I did have the same problem on the other one because I did 2 of them. I kind of had an issue here on this particular side here. I kind of kept getting this flat spot, and it all had to do with the way that I was drawing the icing on here, and for whatever reason I just kept flattening out that side. This one was supposed to be more of a tie-dye. This is Groovy Man. Now cameraman likes this one the best. I didn't love it. I also think that this one came out pretty nice as well. This is a classic wet on wet, pulling the scribe through, so I thought that one turned out pretty nice as well. Now this guy here, originally he was going to have 2 rows of blue with stars in it, but by the time I got to the bottom, there just wasn't any space to put the stars, especially since you can tell I was having some issues with the stars. Definitely not a textbook scribe pull for star action going on there. Of the other ones that I did, I really enjoy this one, which kind of has like a dragon vibes to it for some reason for me. But you can see I'm having an issue here on this corner here, if you can call that a corner. And there's a little spot here too. It almost looks like it got water on it, and I'm not entirely sure where that water came from. It kind of ruined the look of my cookie, darn it. But I would most definitely do that again. I think of all of them, I think this one is actually my favorite. Now, I do have to say, I am underwhelmed by a couple of things. One, I had some serious color bleed. Now, that kind of tells me I probably had some oversaturated colors. How do you get those rich, vibrant colors, right? So I will definitely be looking into the Sugar Art colors with their extra saturation. I understand when you use those, you can use far less gel and you won't have to worry so much about oversaturating the colors. I attempted to have plenty of time to allow my colors to develop. This was the first time I've worked with colors that dark, and I am most definitely learning throughout this process. So we have color bleed there. There's color bleed on many of them. This one here also has color bleed. Now, if you look right here on this particular spot right here, you can see that there's a little bit of red on the cookie. The red on the cookie is, I actually scraped some icing off of the cookie and started over, and then somehow managed to not pay attention to that when I was decorating the cookie, and so now there's red on the cookie and you can see where I scraped off icing. Also, we have a lot, and I mean a lot, almost all of the cookies have craters. I do think that when I was flooding the cookies, I could kind of tell that I was not necessarily flooding to the full capacity, and I don't know if that contributes to craters. I know a lot of things contribute to craters, but on the whole surface of the cookie, I mean, it's literally, if I put my fingers over this, it's like bloop, 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 all throughout the whole cookie. So I definitely have not had that happen before, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but overall, I would call for the red, white, and blue to be a success. So you thought I was done.
Me too.
I'm not done. I realized that we haven't tried these cookies, and I am actually very curious, since I do know that I oversaturated the colors, and that can cause them to taste a little funky. And so I am extremely curious to know what these cookies taste like. Also, the royal icing that I used this time, I didn't add any corn syrup to it, and I didn't add any flavoring to it whatsoever. I used only the meringue powder, the powdered sugar, and water. So I am actually curious about the experience on that one as well. So I have the cameraman with me to try this out.
No, you don't.
Cameraman, which one would you like to eat?
You know, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like this one.
You want this one? You're gonna eat Heart Song?
Yes.
He's gonna eat Heart Song number 2 or 3. I can hear it crunching.
Tastes like a cookie.
It tastes like a cookie. All right.
Interesting texture. Texture is different than what you've made before, but that makes sense.
Texture as far as the icing?
Yeah.
I literally just popped this guy off the top with my finger because I wanted to try the icing by itself. So I'm gonna eat this one. I figured this one is the most saturated of colors because it's all red, all blue, and just a little tiny bit of white. So
maybe I'm going crazy. It doesn't taste as flavorful as the other icings you've had.
No, it definitely doesn't because I didn't put any extracts in it. There's no vanilla extract, there's no almond extract or anything, and I usually use one or both of those.
Tastes good, but it's just not as flavor-y.
It's just sweet. Interesting. But eating that red by itself, it doesn't have a bad flavor at all.
No.
It's not bitter. I don't think it's really crumbly.
No.
My cookie's delicious. Okay, well that's good to know. It doesn't taste bad. It's kind of meh as far as the icing goes, but it's not bad. And the oversaturation of the colors in this case definitely didn't cause a difference in flavor. I don't know if you would consider this hard as a rock or not, because I don't have any reference for
I don't think so.
what hard as a rock icing tastes like. But I'm not breaking any teeth, so
No.
I would say I am overall still very happy with this series of cookies.
Next time on Cooney's Cookie Chronicles.
Have you ever felt defeated, exhausted, frustrated, and alone while trying to execute something you just learned how to do? Well, me too. Take 2. So I've got my royal icing here that I colored a couple of days ago, trying to not have craters, but I definitely wasn't anticipating having all craters. When you think of a flag, you think of the colors on the flag, that is the color I was going for. I'm not even talking about all the struggles of making videos today. I am more talking about my experience with the royal icing. Mixed the heck out of it, which caused my craters. It caused the icing to separate. This is life, people. It's mistakes galore all the time and just left feeling with like, what do I do? In the moment when I'm realizing, this did not go like I expected it was going to go, I was frustrated. Hey, this is a normal thing that happens to people when they're new. I am already experiencing some frustration and exasperation and aloneness in the coloring situation. Do every single thing that I know that needs to be done to make the cookies great.